Well, such is the cruelty of trying to make sports content on YouTube. In literal blinks of an eye, things can flip and change upside down. I'm sure you've clicked on this video because of the title, and the thumbnail has to do with Jeremie Frimpong. Now, today, as I'm recording this, is Thursday. I'm going to try and get this video out on Thursday if I can. Probably not likely. I've got to go to work in like 2 hours, but this news has just broke, so I thought I'd make a video on it real quick. Earlier today, on Thursday morning, I just uploaded an FPL video talking about my Game Week 2 team. Frimpong was not injured at this time. Now it's come out saying that he's going to be out for at least 2 game weeks. That's a significant amount of time to miss in FPL. Also, in that video this morning, I was talking about Eze going to Tottenham. I recorded that video yesterday, bear in mind, and then literal a few hours later, after I finished recording, it comes out, Arsenal have hijacked the deal. Eze's going to Arsenal, not to Tottenham. So yeah, it's rough trying to make football content because things can change so quickly in this sport. You can see our FPL team on the screen right now. In that video this morning, luckily we didn't make a transfer. I saved my free transfer in that video, and I was talking about replacing Ndai from our midfield, but it looks like we're going to have to use our free transfer this week on Jeremie Frimpong. Also, I did discuss the possibility of leaving Ndai in and stacking our free transfer this week, and possibly that might be something I still do. Because looking at our team, the backups on the bench for Frimpong, we have Estev from Burnley. He played a full 90 minutes last week against Tottenham, only got 1 point. And we have Rodon from Leeds, who also played a full 90 minutes last week and got 7 points against Everton. Now, they have Arsenal away, Leeds, and I expect Arsenal to score at least 2 or 3 goals there. And I know Sunderland put 3 past West Ham last week, but Sunderland at home for Burnley, to me, that game screams 0-0. So I'm actually thinking, let's put in Estev, let's bench Frimpong, and that's our team for the week. The thing is, though, like I say, Frimpong is out until the 14th of September, which if we look at Liverpool's fixtures, we have Newcastle on the 25th of August. Then on the 31st of August, we have Arsenal, and the 14th of September is the next game, Burnley away. So he'll miss the Newcastle game and the Arsenal game, which are tough games for clean sheets anyway, but Frimpong, I put in the team looking for attacking returns, not just clean sheet returns. And with him being out for 2 weeks, like I say, today is Thursday as I'm recording this. The deadline is Friday night, so we might be safe on the Friday until we get another free transfer. However, I'm very concerned, especially at this early stage in the season in FPL, about price changes, because literally all it takes is one price change in your whole team and transfer plan are up in flames. Right now, our budget is 0. So if Frimpong drops to 5.9 mil, we can't just swap him for another 6 mil defender, because then we can't afford one. We'd have to go cheaper. So I think it might be good to move early on this Frimpong transfer, especially if I'm okay with the midfield. So I've made a little shortlist of replacements for Frimpong. In the team already, I have 2 guys I would be looking at if I was you and didn't have these 2 guys already. Aït-Nouri from Man City and Cucurella from Chelsea. I really like Cucurella this year in FPL. I think he's going to get some big points throughout the season. Already 8 points in the first game week. Did he get defensive contribution points? No, only 4 there. Somehow ended up with 2 bonus points though. I don't even know how he managed that. I didn't really watch the game because it was 0-0. Who the hell wants to watch a 0-0? But West Ham away, West Ham suck. Fulham, Brentford, Man United, Brighton in his next 5 games. I think there's potential there for Cucurella to get some big points. So if I was you, honestly, and you didn't have a Chelsea defender, I'm doing straight away Frimpong to Cucurella. But I've already got Cucurella, so who am I looking at for defensive replacements for Jeremie Frimpong? You can see the shortlist above my head right now. Let's break it down. We've got Dan Burn from Newcastle, 5 million, 9 points in the first game week. He did get defensive contribution points. Dan Burn is a defender that gets stuck in, bro. He gets interceptions, he gets headers, clearances, things like that, because he's a big unit. Liverpool at home in the next game week, not ideal. But after that, Leeds, Wolves, Bournemouth, that's potential for 3 clean sheets in a row right there, I think. Arsenal, tough game. Forest, tough game. Brighton might score, but long term, like even Fulham, West Ham, Brentford, that's another nice 3-game run for Newcastle there. Newcastle are a good defensive unit, bro. I would be looking at one of the Newcastle defenders. Even Livramento is a good shout. Obviously going with the fullback. I think Dan Burn will end up with more defensive contribution points, but going with a fullback, you have more chance of getting, attacking returns. Livramento can get forward on the overlap, put balls into the box, things like that. Dan Burn, though, still a goal threat as well. He's like, 6'7", I want to say. Last season only got 1 goal. but I remember he scored one time against PSG in the Champions League, and I had money on it. So shout out to Dan Burn. Next up on my shortlist is Matty Cash. Only 4.5 million for the Aston Villa fullback. Again, big point haul in that first game week for him. 8 points. I think he got bonus. He got defensive contribution points. Did not get bonus points, but still 11 defensive contribution points for a fullback is very nice. Obviously, Newcastle, a wing-heavy team. That's where all of their play goes through because they have no number 9 right now. So that makes sense why the fullback gets defensive contribution points there. But again, looking at Aston Villa's next fixtures, for the same reason I have Ollie Watkins in my team, and for the same reason I've raved on about keeping Watkins in there, even though he didn't score straight away. Let's take a look at these fixtures then for Aston Villa. Brentford, I know they scored against Forest, but they shouldn't have last week. You know, it was a fluke penalty. Outside of that, Brentford looked terrible. That's a clean sheet for Matty Cash right there, possibly. Crystal Palace in the next game week, they're losing Eze. They're going to struggle to be creative. They also might lose Mark Gahey by then. So they're going to be all over the place. Palace, potential for points for Matty Cash. Everton in the next game. I really want Everton to do well this season for the sake of all my mates who are Everton fans. But who knows, bro? If Jack Grealish don't click with Ndiaye and them, and they need a striker. I can't lie. They need a striker. Because Beto and Barry, like those guys, you're playing with 10 men when those guys are on the pitch. Next week, you've got Sunderland. Sunderland, obviously, they looked good in the first game week, scored 3 against West Ham, but still, a newly promoted side going up against a good manager, Unai Emery. I don't think Emery is going to allow Sunderland to put 3 past them. Fulham is just one of those teams that are hit or miss. They can either score 3 goals or 0 in the games. Burnley the next week, they're going to struggle to score goals this season. And then you go into Tottenham and Man City. That's a tough back-to-back, but we're looking weeks ahead here. I think Matty Cash is a great pickup for 4.5 mil. Next guy I want to talk about is Ola Aina. We do already have in our team Sells. So Ola Aina is probably not the guy I'm going to look for because we do have coverage for the Forest defense here. But I do think Ola Aina or Neko Williams, however you say my man's name, I think they're very good options at the back. Forest, a bit like 50-50 on the fixtures. You know, Palace, West Ham, good fixtures. Arsenal away, tough. Burnley, Sunderland back-to-back, great. Newcastle, tough fixture. Chelsea, tough fixture. Bournemouth, Man United. It's a bit on and off with this Forest run. However, I really like how Forest are set up. They look good, and they're making good signings too. Their team is just quality, and I think Forest are probably the most exciting team for me in the Premier League right now, I can't lie. So having some coverage there, good Frimpong replacement, I think Ola Aina or Neko Williams, they are both 5 million, 1 million cheaper than Frimpong, so you've got some options there to play with some cash in other areas as well. I think all of these guys actually are cheaper than 6 mil, so you've got plenty of options to go for. Staying in the 6 mil price point, you could just swap them straight up for Van Dijk. I think that's not a bad option. I don't know who we're going to have at right back next game, because if Connor Bradley's still injured, is he still injured or is Connor Bradley back? Let's see. 50% chance of Bradley playing. Oh, this could be bad, actually. Who are we going to play at right back? Don't tell me that Endo is going to play right back. When he got subbed on and played at the back, he was getting targeted by Bournemouth and it did not look good. But still, Virgil van Dijk is Virgil van Dijk. You're going to get clearances, blocks, interceptions, defensive contributions from him. 20 in that game against Bournemouth. That is insane. But that's what Van Dijk does. So even when we don't keep clean sheets, like we probably won't in the next 2 games, against Newcastle, there's a chance actually because they don't have a striker. Arsenal, actually, I don't like them to either to score against us because I'm bitter. But Burnley, Everton, Palace, I think we should be good for clean sheets. I mean, by the Burnley game, Frimpong's going to be back fit anyway, but so you're bringing Van Dijk in for Newcastle, Arsenal. Not ideal, but I still think Van Dijk is a good like-for-like replacement to just keep the Liverpool coverage in there. And it's something I am considering as a Liverpool fan. I do have one more player I want to discuss real quick who really caught my eye in game week 1 despite scoring 0 points. And this is why you can't just look at points. You've got to actually watch the games to try and figure out who's going to be a good player going forward. I think this man, Adrien Truffert, I think he is a big option for FPL, you know, I can't lie. I know he got 0 points in that first game. Wolves at home next game, no. Tottenham's a tough game. Just looking at the Bournemouth fixtures. Brighton, Newcastle, Leeds, Fulham. That's a decent run of fixtures, and at only 4.5 million, Truffert is looking like the next Kerkez. You remember Kerkez last year getting the assists and the goals that he got from playing fullback in Areola's system. I'm not going to lie, this guy impressed me against Liverpool. I thought he was going to get cooked playing against Mo Salah. Brand new fullback has just come in. And I thought Bournemouth were going to be defensive shambles because they've lost Huijsen, Zabarnyi, Kerkez. They've lost 3 starting defenders right there. But this guy, Truffert, he came in, and to be fair to him, I think he looked really good. Getting forward, you know, even at the back, who else did they have? Did they have Diakite played, didn't he? This guy, Diakite, I made fun of him in the Burn Down, episode 1, saying that he had a giant face on his FIFA card. But I'm not going to lie, he looks like he could be a good defender going forward for Bournemouth. And I don't know how teams like Bournemouth and Brighton keep doing this. Whenever they lose their star players, they just have the next one ready to come in. The underrated star players I'm talking about, where it's like, where the hell did this guy come from? I don't know. But in the next few years, he's going to be moving to a big club. I expect to see this guy, Diakite, give it 2 or 3 seasons, he'll be going to like Tottenham or Man United. And as for Truffert, keep an eye on this guy moving to somewhere like Tottenham or Manchester City, one of the big clubs in a few years, because he is like the next up-and-coming guy. And I'm just putting that on wax because I want it on a video. So when he does come good, I can say, look back at that video, I know ball. But this guy, I do really like him. I think he's an underrated shout for FPL. Definitely not on a lot of people's radar. He's owned by 0.9% of teams. Only 4.5 million. Just keep an eye on him. 4.5 million. I still think my favourite option right now of this shortlist, especially for his price, is probably Matty Cash. And I'm thinking maybe I bring in Matty Cash for the next few game weeks, especially that next 4 right there. Like, come on, bro. Brentford, Palace, Everton, Sunderland. That's 4 clean sheets right there, Matty Cash. That's cash money. But as it stands anyway, this is my FPL team. I've got Frimpong on the bench, Esteve starting. I probably will hope, fingers crossed, Frimpong doesn't drop in price. Wait for the Friday deadline. I'll have 2 free transfers to play with them, and I can think about what to do with them then, because it's pretty sudden that this has all happened, you know. But that's my thoughts for Frimpong replacements. Let me know in the comments below what you think of my ideas for Frimpong replacements. Let me know your Frimpong replacements or any defenders that I just haven't spoke about today that I should keep an eye on. I think Matty Cash is my one. Dan Burns, a big shout too, but also Truffert. I'm putting it out there. I think Truffert could be a big time differential pick in FPL this season. Especially once Justin Kluivert comes back into the Bournemouth squad. He was missing in that first game, and Bournemouth still scored 2. That's a massive creative outlet for them right there. But bro, keep an eye out for Adrien Truffert. You heard it here first. If you have enjoyed this video though, for more FPL content, make sure to like, comment, share, and subscribe. Join my nameless FPL league. Link is down below. And I will catch you in the next video. Take it easy, people, man.